Today, we're going to learn about how to find the midpoint between 2 points. You got points. We're doing coordinate geometry. If you know where the points are, their coordinates, you can work out all kinds of things. What kinds of things do we already know, by the way? We already know how to find out how far it is between them, which is the distance formula. Now let's see how we go. Distance equals, I'll start you off, there's a big square root sign, okay? But what goes under the square root? Do you remember? Yeah.
x1 plus x2.
Oh, close. There are x in there. Okay, good. You could start with x or y. That's fine. What do I do to this thing?
Minus.
No, wait, there's something missing. I have to do something to this.
Square.
I square it. Right, why is it squared? Do you remember? Where did it come from? It came from Pythagoras. Do you remember Pythagoras? So that part was squared, and then you told me to add to what?
Y squared minus.
No,
Y2. Same thing, but with y's.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. So you remember there was also another way to write that. We said like these two things really, right? That's kind of I swapped them around. This is rise here, right? Y2 minus Y1. It's a vertical thing, and this is run. Okay. So another kind of handy way that I wrote it was it's rise squared plus run squared. Okay. Now rise and run. That should remind you of the other thing that we've learnt to do between 2 points. If you know where 2 points are, you can work out one other thing so far. Not just distance, but starts with a G. Gradient. Gradient. Oh, it's dying. I need a new one. Okay, let's see if we can make it. Gradient. Gradient's about like how steep is it between things, right? So gradient was, do you remember what the formula? It was a fraction. What was the formula?
Rise over run.
Good, it's rise over run. It's the same pieces. It's the same two pieces. Rise over run. Okay, so therefore if I substitute for all the x's and y's and stuff, you got this. Okay, so we did distance, we did gradient. Now, if you got 2 points, we want to work out what's halfway between them. Okay, so we'll start with a simple example. By now, hopefully you've had enough time to draw that up. Let's put some coordinates on these. That point A there, it looks like about 1, 1 to me. Let's just call it 1, 1. Okay. Now, assuming, like this is the horizontal, the x-axis here. I've tried as best as I can to draw this interval, AP, parallel, right? So, what shall we call it? Let's see, what coordinates does it look like it might be? That's 1, I guess it'd be like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe? 6 across. Now I have a question for you. What will its y coordinate be?
1.
It'll also be 1. Why is that? That's right. In fact, anything along here, you can put it like over here or all the way over there. The y coordinate will always be 1 because that's about how high up and down you are. Okay. Great. Now, 6. Actually, let's change it to 7 just because it'll make our numbers a bit easier. You'll see. Sorry. Okay. Forgive me. Now, we want to work out what's halfway between these two. So we can actually plot this in. It looks like it'll be somewhere about here.
Are just estimating?
Okay. For now, we're just estimating. Okay, but we're going to work out exactly what it is in a second. Okay. Now, because it's the midpoint, we tend to note that down with a capital M, not a lowercase m, because that was gradient, right? That's a lower m. So here's my capital M, but there will be midpoints of all kinds of different points. I'm going to add on a third point in a second, right? So being that there will be lots of other points, there will be lots of other midpoints, I want to say this is the midpoint between A and P. So the way I indicate that is by saying AP. In little letters, subscript down the bottom. Okay, so I read that as the midpoint of AP. That's the midpoint of AP. All right, now we want to work out where is this thing. Where is this thing? Now you can already actually tell me. You can tell me what the y coordinate is straight away, right?
1.
It's still 1, just like P and just like A, right? Because they're all on this line. Okay, so that's good. But the x coordinate is a bit trickier. Not that hard though. Can anyone tell me? Can anyone see what they like? Make a good guess as to what it would be. Yeah, Darcy. 4. 4. What do we think of 4?
Yeah.
Do we agree with 4?
3.5.
3.5?
I think
Five.
4.5.
4, 5? 4.5?
3.5.
Okay, now this is great that we're trying to work out because we know we're all roughly in the same area. We all know that 2 is too small, and we know 6 is too big, right?
It's
Now, how do we work out what it is? How do you work out what's halfway between two different things?
Minus.
Okay.
Divide.
There is some division involved. Here's what we're going to do. How did I get 4? Okay. I think the way you get 4 is you have 7, and then you add 1, right, which is this other distance over here, and then you divide by 2. You're taking the average, right? Do you remember from statistics, we looked at the mean, the average? You add up all the different things, and then you divide by however many things there are. So this is taking the average. Now that's 8 over 2, which sure enough is 4. Okay. Now there's another way you can check to show that 4 and not 3.5, not 4.5 is right. What did I change?
The pay, and then it says 7.1. It was
Yeah.
originally a 6.
Oh, sorry, you're looking at the original. Right, gotcha. The way that we can know is that the midpoint, right? What makes it the midpoint is it's halfway between the two, right? So therefore this distance and this distance, they ought to be the same, right? If we got the midpoint correct, okay? So how far is it from A to the midpoint?
3.
It's 3 units, exactly right. It hasn't gone up or down at all, and it's gone from 1 to 4. Sorry, I should say 1 to 4. So that's 3. Good. 4 to 7 is also 3. So we've got it. There you go. Perfect. Okay, well done. Right, now above this, we're going to add another point. And this time we're going to add it directly above P. Okay, so let's put it up here. So we're going to call this one B, and it's going to have the coordinates. Now, I've put it directly above, like this. So therefore, even without seeing anything about the scale and that kind of thing, you can tell me already what the x coordinate is, right? If it's directly above, it'll also be 7. Good, okay? Just for the sake of illustration, I'm going to make this 5. Okay, now again, let's work out the midpoint. I'm going to mark it in approximately, so something like that, okay? And because it's the midpoint between B and P, I'm going to label it midpoint of BP, okay? So now I want to work out what are these coordinates, okay? What are these coordinates? Now, again, you can still just read off what's the x coordinate, yeah?
7, 3.
Okay, now you've given me both.
Yeah.
Now, let's work out how we got this. The 7, why is it 7?
Same like.
It's still on this same vertical line, okay? Everything on this vertical line will have an x coordinate of 7, okay? Now, how did we get 3? How did you get 3, Nathan? Yeah.
Because the middle, like, if you have like 5 things, the middle one of those 5 things would be 3. So
Okay, all right.
the way.
Okay, so if you got 5 objects, you're saying like
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E. Okay, yeah. So you're saying, look, the middle one is the third one,
Yeah.
right? Okay, now this is interesting because we have arrived at the right answer, but I wonder if anyone can see the flaw with this way of arguing it. You're going to say something else, or you're going to talk about that?
I'm going to say y is 3.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
It's 5 plus 1 divided by 2.
5 plus 1 divided by 2. 6 on 3. That's 3. Okay, now, hold on. We've both arrived at the same number, but I think this is a much better way to go about it than this. Okay, let me try and explain to you why. What if I wanted what if I wanted to take the midpoint between these guys? I'm not going to, okay, but suppose I wanted to. Okay. Well, you guys can actually see, what's the midpoint between them? It'll be 7, 4, won't it? Halfway between these. But the middle of 5 is still 3, right?
You know, it's just like for a simple explanation.
That's true, but the simple example breaks down when you look at another thing, right? So that's why this one doesn't break down though, because we can just change this number. If I change that to 3, then this would be 8, and you'd get 4. Okay. So that's why I think this will be a better approach. It's more versatile, if you like. Okay. Now, just like before, you can see what's this distance versus this distance. They're both 2, right? So we've got the midpoint. Fantastic.